40B, and this is to allow construction of now 8 single-family dwellings, and this is continued from back in December. The topics for tonight are going to be the peer review and department comments, and follow up from where we left off. There were a few things that the applicant was going to get us, and I believe the applicant has gotten those things to us for tonight's meeting. So if we can, I see the applicant's engineer has been led into the meeting, and is the applicant out there? We also have Sean Reardon for peer review. Good evening, Sean.
Hey, everybody.
I think Mr. Petrozzi is here.
He was a second ago. I promoted him. I just don't see him at the moment.
There he is.
It's such a positive sound. You promoted him.
Yes.
Okay.
Versus we let him in.
So at the last meeting, there were 2 things that were due outs for the applicant. One was a lighting plan and prototype of architecturals. We have since received those, and if people have, we'll get to those if people have questions of them. But as far as we needed, and we also have an updated list of waivers. So we also have with us the Sean Reardon for the peer review, and what we were going to do tonight is get your comments and any other department comments tonight. So at this point, Sean, can I turn it over to you, and we can talk about where we're at as far as your peer review of the revised plans for Doopey Street?
Sure. So we got the revised information several weeks ago, submitted an updated letter. Unfortunately, I messed something up, and I missed a couple of the submittals. Lou was nice enough to send that over to me, as well as sending a full-size set of plans, which really helped me out quite a bit. So I might have some additional comments based on the more detail that I can see on the plans, but I think right now, a lot of the issues still remain from the original letter, although some of the concern is sort of reduced because now instead of having 12 units, you have 8 units. There's less traffic, less for issues. But the main issues still stay the same. We still have a very narrow right-of-way. It's, I think, 27 feet instead of the 46 feet that's required. They've got a 20-foot roadway, which is pretty much the biggest they could fit in the 27-foot right-of-way. Versus 26 feet covered by, or required by the subdivision regulations. And really a long dead end road with what I'd consider sort of a modest means of fire access to turn around. And one that's probably prone to getting blocked, and you're likely not going to be able to see the turnaround from the road. So if the fire department goes up the street and then finds out that they can't turn around in the turnaround because someone's got it blocked, you can't get a tow truck up there because the fire truck's blocking the street. So it forces them pretty much to back down Doopey Street the whole way. And it's right now, I think it's over 700 feet.
God.
Really, I mean, it was good that they reduced the density, but because the units got bigger in footprint, it's kind of the same project with the same issues.
Okay, we had spent a lot of time talking about the stormwater. How do you feel the stormwater is at this point, Sean?
It's kind of the same as it was, which was the impervious is about the same because the roofs on the single family homes are bigger than the individual duplex units were. So it's roughly the same thing. It manifests itself by the same basin design. If you can picture like a swimming pool on top of a hill, that's really kind of what they have. And it's like directly uphill from the Molliver's house, number 3. So you have a pretty good pool of water sitting above another home. Traditionally, detention basins are sort of more built into the earth as opposed to built above the earth. They've also got a wall around the whole basin and a really tight offset to the roadway. The basin overtops in pretty much just above the 100-year storm. So basically, I would expect it to overtop at some point in time, and it just basically dumps right down over the wall onto the road. See, I mean, it's creative, but a little on the edge of what I would consider as safe and advisable.
Okay, with that being said, to resolve that and make it safer, reduction in units, or what's the thought?
I mean, I think there's things that Rob might be able to do to sort of reduce the burden on the basin itself. Maybe there's things that he could do, like infiltrating dry wells for the roofs, or make the swale have like check dams in it so that water gets pulled up in the back of the units for a little longer. Just basically anything that reduces the size of that pond. Right now the pond is pretty big and it's taking up all the available space that's below those units. So anything that we can do to sort of distribute the load, and absolutely, I mean, reducing the number of units is one of them. If they reduce the number of units, they reduce the amount of impervious they're creating. But there's a whole range of things we could do. I was sort of hoping I'd see at least something, but it's pretty much the same basin as it was before.
Okay. Board members, any questions for Sean on the peer review? Okay. Hearing none.
Hey, John, just let me add, I mean, there are other issues, but they're all in the letter. So, it would be nice to see some of those addressed as well. But, those are the big ones that I think you guys should be focusing on.
I guess I'd have one question, John, just about the comments regarding the right-of-way width and the dead-end travel way being narrower. What sort of, I mean, it seems like the conclusion there is that it's not exactly a safe condition given the narrowness of the roadway and the fact that, as you mentioned, with emergency vehicles entering and exiting. Can you speak a little, despite the reduction in the number of units, is that still presenting, safety issues then?
Yeah, I think it is. And it's not a question of they're not being flexible. It's a question of, it seems like you need relief on everything to make what they have work. So there's really no solution for the 20-foot right-of-way because all you have is 27 feet to work with. But there is a solution to make the emergency vehicle access at the top substantially better by providing what's typically provided is a standard round turnaround, like a cul-de-sac end that the fire truck could do a complete circle in without having to back up. So right now they have to go up the hill to a spot and back into a spot that they can't see from the bottom of the hill and then go back down the hill. Typically the fire department wants to see a cul-de-sac end where they can just turn their fire truck around. I don't think there's any reason why they couldn't provide it on the site that they have, aside from it would likely knock out a unit or so.
So my takeaway from your comments is that although there's been a reduction in the number of units, that the site is essentially built out to the max, both in stressing the stormwater detention issue is sort of a function of that. This traffic issue is a function of that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate thing. And I don't want to lose sight of the compounding of issues. So when it comes to the fire access, it's a compounding of several different issues. You've got a narrow roadway going up, right? So typically you have a 26-foot wide roadway. Now you only have a 20-foot roadway. You've got a very narrow right-of-way, so the units are really close to the street, which impacts your ability to see up the hill into the turnaround that they proposed. And then you've got the less than required turnaround accommodations for the fire truck. So it's not just one issue that is sort of making it less than ideal by itself. It's a bunch of things that compound.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I took notes on that because I think that's really one of the issues that we're gonna have to look at is the, you know, how much, well, you use the term compounding, and I like that. It's all building on itself on this project.
Yeah, and it all has the same net result, which is compromised access. I mean, for not just for fire trucks, for everybody. So, I mean, you add to that and no real place to put snow on the side of the road because as you're going up Doopey Street on the left, you've only got 3-4 feet at the most between the face of curb on the left side of Doopey Street and the private property that's outside the development. So in theory, you can't turn your plow blade towards that side of the street or else you're going to be pushing snow from your road onto somebody else's property. That doesn't even, you know, that doesn't even bring up the question about whose plow is it, because I'm still not clear on who owns the road or what portions of it, because the applicant has said that the town maintains a portion of Doopey Street. I don't, that's sort of a, you know, a grandfathered situation. I don't know if there's anything memorialized, but that's something that would definitely need to be reconciled because, you know, now the town pretty much has a responsibility of clearing just up to 2 houses with no complications of other houses being uphill, so they can just push the snow right to the end of the road. You know, now they can't do that because, I mean, or if this project happens, they can't do that because there's new development beyond it. So I think that should be figured out as well, particularly given the fact that the right-of-way is so constrained and the travelway is so constrained. Again, it compounds the issue and puts a premium on resolving stuff like that.
And just for the record, Mr. Petroza, you said that there'd be an association that would be handling the snow removal for this. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But Lou, how would that association include the existing homeowners on Doopey Street, or would they just be responsible for the upper end of the roadway? What are you thinking on that?
Well, we've had some discussions with the DPW and we're working out something to that's equitable.
Okay.
We don't know yet, but it is you know, a half and half situation, and we don't have any objections to doing the whole road, but still hasn't been determined yet.
I mean, that would be the most practical application because I think the extension is longer than the.
Well,
Slightly
so
longer
just
than
as an example, you know, the town does plow the private ways now, even if it's a subdivision that hasn't been an accepted way yet. The town still plows it. Again, the policy of the town has been to plow the private ways for subdivisions that haven't been accepted yet. So. Like I said, we've had some discussions, and there are some things that will get worked out in the process.
But in this case, Lou, there's no plan for this roadway to be accepted by the town, right? Whereas a subdivision roadway is still waiting.
That's correct.
Okay, so a little bit different.
That's correct. Okay. Right. Well, it's not expected to be an accepted roadway. Unless they decide that they wanted to accept the portion of Doopey Street that they're maintaining now, which I don't see why they would.
Lou, do you know who owns Fee and Doopey Street as you go up to your section?
The Fee is the Doopey Street is a private way. The Fee is owned to the center by parties on both sides.
And then how would that work when we get up to yours where there's only parties on one side? Would the individual homeowners own out to the opposite side?
No. The people on the other side of the right of way would own to the middle, just like we own to the middle.
Even though they get their frontage on the other road?
Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter where their frontage comes from. It's up to zoning.
And I actually raised that at a previous meeting that people on Sybil Street could be driving out their backyards. They'd have legal access to Doopey Street as far as the way they'd have access to Sybil Street and Doopey Street, I think. but, we'll see.
That would be correct.
Okay.
That would be correct, John.
Okay. Board members, anything else? A lighting plan was submitted, and it showed, that was one of the things that we asked for. It shows the 4 light poles on the property and the lumens as far as how far out they're going. We also received plans for just architectural plans showing 2-bedroom homes and 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom model and 4-bedroom model with a bonus room, which I was going to raise some questions about that. Judy Barrett, good evening.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, how are you?
I'm good. One of the things with a 40B, and these have, they call them bonus rooms, which are large rooms. Is there any way that the zoning board can say that those are not bedrooms and they shall not be bedrooms?
If it meets the requirements basic requirements for a bedroom in terms of size, I don't see how you can do that without a problem under the Fair Housing Act.
Okay, that's why I'm asking it, because, sometimes, so that's,
You have to be sort of careful that you're not imposing conditions on a project that essentially could lead to discrimination against protected classes.
yeah, and we would not do that. I just know in other zoning conditions, we do state right in there, particularly if the house is on a septic system, how many bedrooms in the house, and it shall remain like that.
That's a different issue. I mean, if there's a Title V factor, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, and, good. Okay. Anything, Suzanne, go ahead, please.
Are we gonna hear from Cliff? Ashley, do you know that?
Yeah, so I just, we received these plans on Monday, so I've not had a chance to review them. Cliff certainly not had a chance to review them. We will need more notice for plans before hearing. 2 days is not sufficient.
We changed the rule that stuff had to be in by Friday at noon about a year ago or 2 years ago.
Well, and I think it's like based on how much information is being provided, right? It can be a flexible type thing, but 2 days is definitely not enough. So I think you've heard some concerns tonight from Sean about the sewer, water, and the storm, fire and access and these things. So I really think that that's what the applicant should be focusing on, and we can schedule kind of the next hearing to have Cliff come and present on the architecturals and the lighting plan. And really, I think we should have the departments themselves speak about these concerns, about whether like snow removal, whether the fire department's comfortable. So those are hearings that we'll want to schedule down the road. But I think there's still these big picture things that need to be addressed.
Yeah, and to that point, Ashley, based on our conversations that we've been having with Cedar Edge, I can't see chief or deputy allowing the combination of factors at this particular site. I mean, the roadway's 4 times longer than we allowed Cedar Edge. It's narrower, it's steeper. So, I mean, that's definitely going to be an issue.
I believe, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Mr. Petrosi.
So, since our last meeting, we did meet with the Sewer and Water Commission, and they have approved the project and the sewer and water connection. And I believe that the fire department, fire chief has already issued comments related to the turnaround. And quite frankly, I'm a little bit, the width of the right-of-way, the width of the pavement, 20 feet is not, it's not what we would consider a narrow street. I've got projects that in Dover, Westwood, and that are 20-foot 20-foot width pavements that are much larger than this project. So, and I think with all respect to Sean, I mean, he's been the peer reviewer in those towns and on those projects. So I don't want to get into a debate over the width of the pavement, but that's a pretty standard width for this size project. And with regard to the drainage meets all the stormwater regulations. And I'd be happy to show him a stormwater basin that is similar to this one in my own neighborhood in Norwood, which we built 18 years ago and not had a problem at all. I mean, I understand that these are opinions, but if they meet the regulations, they meet the regulations.
Chair Lee, I would just add that I think that the letter dated June 5th, 2020 should be revisited. There are some items that the fire department requested to help the review of this project.
Who's that from, Ashley, if you don't mind me asking?
It is from Paul Berry, the deputy fire chief. So there's a list of things that he would like more information on to adequately review the project, including an analysis of the fire apparatus maneuvers. We still need to have stamps and signatures. It's got a list of codes that need to be met, so I would revisit those and update your plans accordingly.
Ashley, without getting into it, I mean, I believe Green International has provided that information in subsequent reports that we've submitted to the board that had the turning analysis and all of the other information regarding the vehicles and turning analysis.
So then we need to update
duplicate information.
So we don't have a letter from the fire department on the most updated plan, and I just wanted to make clear that we don't have approval from the fire department on this project yet.
Right. Well, we did, like I said, we did submit the information, and you're probably right that we haven't had an updated letter from the fire chief, but we did submit the information back in November. So I can't force them to look at it.
Okay, but either way, we're gonna need to get that information reviewed by the fire department, and that has to happen.
And it'd be a good idea for you and I to talk with chief and deputy like we did for Cedar Edge.
We offered that previously. That's still an option, but
I'm sorry, what did you say, Ashley? I didn't quite hear it.
so if it would be helpful to have a conversation with fire department and John, we're happy to coordinate that. Last time we suggested that you were not interested in it, so.
That would be Bill Scully with Green International. He's available to meet with the fire chief at any time.
Why don't we schedule that call then, Ashley? We'll schedule a call between Paul and the two of us and Bill.
Is Ashley, is he on the line? Is Bill Scully on waiting? Is he update? You see him out there?
I don't see him, but
Okay.
we can certainly.
He's fired.
Okay, Ashley, I don't want to just keep going back and forth on this. I was hoping that we would have had more progress from the applicant on this at this point. So I know there's about 10 other people out there, and if there's neighbors that want to comment on this, I'd like to open it up to them at this time. I know they've submitted letters, but I think being a public hearing, I'd want to hear from anybody in the public that has something, and particularly any new information.
I'm not seeing anyone with a raised hand at the moment, to be honest. Actually, now I have two. I'm gonna let Tyler H talk. So, hold on. Tyler?
Hey guys. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. So I had submitted a letter. I certainly don't want to rehash it.
Excuse me, Tyler.
Yes.
Would you just identify yourself for the record and your address, please? Thank you.
Yes, of course. My name is Tyler Houle. I live at 20 Victoria. So I'm one of the abutters to this project. So I had submitted a letter in December, I think, after the last meeting that we had. I don't want to rehash the entire thing. 2 points that I want to bring up based on what I've heard tonight and seen tonight. I hadn't seen the new architectural plans. So on those ones, the windows on the second floor, right, faced right over my backyard. There are 3 to 4 new houses that will be in my backyard, very close to my property line. So my concerns about privacy are even more important than previously. I think the 4 to 6 foot trees, my daughter's almost 2. She can see over a 4 to 6 foot tree. Like the width of it is, I don't know, at that point it's a foot or 2, and they're spaced 5 to 6 feet apart. It's not really providing the privacy and doing what the intention of it is for until, I don't know, 5-10 years down the line, assuming that it grows healthily. And then the other is I guess a question for Sean, based on your comments on the water in the basin. And I was just curious whether you find that those will prevent any further water issues on the Victoria Circle side. I have a sump pump and French drains, and actually the 2 latest storms have actually caused a bit of water issue in my basement. So, like I said, I've already put a sump pump in. I've already put a French drain in. I'm not sure what else to put in aside from that. So I'm obviously getting that looked at, but I'd like to make sure that any development that goes in here is not exacerbating the problem that I'm currently dealing with. So those are my 2 points: privacy and just a reconfirmation that the water will not impact our property.
So I'm not even going to put Sean on the spot for that one, unless Sean, do you feel comfortable answering that?
Well, on the water stuff, I can, as long as I don't see who identified as an abutter.
My name is Cheney.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so actually, you're probably going to benefit a little bit from groundwater, because what happens right now is water hits the ground and gets into the soils right near your house, and sort of flows down from the top of the hill towards your property. The groundwater does. What's going to end up happening is the water now is going to come off a roof, going to get into a swale, and going to go down to the detention pond. So yeah, I don't expect it to be any worse, and it might even be a little bit better when after the development.
Even with all the trees removed as well?
Yeah, what happens is that water is not getting a chance to get into the ground, but to your point, trees do have an impact too. So my guess is it's going to be a net no change.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing is, Sean, would you have a mounding effect as far as the groundwater once it goes into the retention basin and then it slowly seeps out? Would you find a mounding effect that would cause issues for people further down on Victoria Circle?
You will have a mounding effect, but I wouldn't expect it to be very far beyond the basin, because the soils aren't that permeable. So the soils are kind of tight, and the infiltration rates are pretty low. So I wouldn't expect to be too much of an issue there. What I'm more concerned about is just, the volume of water perched on the top of a hill. If it is allowed to be constructed the way it is, we really got to be diligent about how that wall gets constructed, how that fill gets placed, because what happens is you basically have this pool that keeps filling and unfilling, filling and unfilling. If that water finds its way through anywhere, it just keeps finding its way through, and before you know it, you get a breach in the side of that pond, and there's going to be a lot of water going down the hill. Not saying it's going to happen, but we just got to make sure we do everything to ensure that it's not going to happen.
And I think your point that you made earlier, this isn't a typical site where they dig out a depression and that becomes the retention basin. This is actually being built up. It has walls.
Yeah, I think the bottom of the basin is actually, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, the bottom of the basin might be a little bit higher than existing grade.
The bottom of the basin is the existing grade. So it is built up. It's not uncommon, Mr. Chairman, to build up a berm for a basin with a high water table area. We do it all the time. It happens in several places around the community.
Yeah, Rob, how many do you have that have a wall around the outside, though?
I don't have many, but I've seen them. I mean, it's structurally sound. It's 10 feet between the wall and the berm. Let's remember, the basin's only holding, at the worst depth, 3 feet of water at a 100-year storm. It's not holding a lot of water.
Okay, it's holding the water drainage from the entire site, basically, though.
That's correct, but let's remember, Mr. Chairman, the site's just barely over an acre of land.
I know, and 8 units on that. Jeez.
Correct. I think it's just over 50,000 square feet. So we're not dealing with a 10-acre area that's coming down to one basin. Right. It's a very small area.
Okay.
May I just say that this is one of our worst drainage areas in the entire town, and I'm sure Rob knows that. I think he's done a few projects up there. It's really bad drainage up there. I don't know if Sean knows that, but it's bad.
Yeah, Carl was telling me that today.
It's bad, like one of the worst in the whole town.
When you say bad, Suzanne, you mean just it's crappy soils and doesn't infiltrate?
Yep. It's
Yeah,
really
it's all
crappy. Yeah.
I grew up in the neighborhood. It's all glacial till up there. So it does not drain well. Never has, never will. Okay.
No.
And that, just for clarity, crappy is not a technical term. There is no.
Oh, sorry.
Crappy, but sort of communicates the point.
Well, I know Rob knows that because he's done other projects, so I know he's going to try.
No, it's definitely a challenge with the soils in that area. We run into this in several sites, and it's a challenge. They're always a challenge.
Yep.
You don't always have the luxury of a gravel pit to put your drainage in.
Okay. Amy, can you see if there are other residents who want to comment on something?
Yep, so next is actually Janice Sellett, so here she is. You can speak if you'd like, Janice.
Hi, I'm Janice Sellett from 257 High Plains Street, which is right on the corner of Doopey. And I did send another letter in this week, and actually a second one in with an addendum. But what I wanted to mention tonight, since you're talking about the water, of course, with the last rain that we had over on Christmas, I had the swimming pool in the backyard and not too far from my house. And of course, the sump pump went 24/7 up until last week. And but the other issue I wanted to bring up, which I believe had been touched on before, but we kind of lost track of it. I'm very concerned about the roadway as public safety goes because of children walking to school. Where Doopey Street is, you're smack dab in the middle of two Walpole public school districts, one on Old Post Road for the younger children, and then Bird Middle School. Well, you know what middle school is, from 7 to 9. And there are a lot of walkers and children coming up and down the street, or potentially more children coming up and down the street, and having cars and delivery trucks and fuel is a huge issue, not to mention when you have the storms that they're not off of school because even, there's no place for them to walk and it's not safe. And I would hate to have a tragedy before anyone would recognize this. And I think that is extremely important and not to be taken lightly.
Okay, Janice, thank you for your comments.
You.
I know there's sidewalks on your side of High Plains Street, and that would go all the way down to Old Post Road, and then also in the other direction, sidewalks all the way down to the intersection with the traffic lights.
Correct.
Okay.
But coming up the street and the children walking up and down, I mean, there are people that even go out on their walks and they will go up the street to kind of look around. They have for years and years, and then they'll go back down when they, even though it says dead end, they just kind of keep walking anyway. And, but no, to me, it's a very serious issue. You know, it's not to be taken lightly, because to get from, you know, the end of the street over to where the sidewalks are is pretty dangerous. So anyway, I hope that you all had a chance to take a look at my letter and the updated one as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments and thank you for your letters. Okay.
They're getting shorter. Getting more to the point. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Janice.
Okay, so next we have James Doyle. Whenever you're ready, James.
Hi, James Doyle, 12 Victoria Circle. I'm going to be living right behind the retention basin. And with the change of the plans, I was wondering if any more water is going to come my way. And does the retention basin drain out into a sewer in Doopey, or does it leach in a circle for all the abutters?
It does both. It leaches a tiny bit, like Suzanne was talking about. It's very tight soils, but it does let a little bit into the ground. Most of the water from the basin ends up going out through a pipe into the stormwater system run in High Plain Street. So most of it gets piped away.
All right, thank you.
And just for clarification, it goes to the storm sewer, not to the sanitary sewer. So,
all right, yeah.
Okay, so next we have Julie Sullivan.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Just a quick question. I brought this up in a letter.
Did we just lose Julie Sullivan?
Oh, she's back.
I'm back. Sorry, I got not sure how much you heard. So Julie Sullivan on 24 Victoria Circle, right next to Tyler. So I brought this up previously, but the swale does not continue to Unit 8, which is right behind my house. Sean, you'll see us on there as Sacheti.
Yep.
We're another newbie. So yeah, and that was a question I had, is whether, you know, that the elevation of that land slopes towards my house, towards my property. So, you know, a question I would have is, you know, what's going to happen with that water? Is that going directly on my property?
No, it gets intercepted by that swale. So what used to sheet off towards your property is going to get intercepted by the swale and run down towards the detention pond.
Even behind Unit 8? Because it doesn't extend to Unit 8.
Yeah, so as you get to the top of the swale where the turnaround is, that's kind of like the top of the hill. And Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but once you get to where like the snow storage is or the turnaround is, it sort of starts to run back towards the other direction.
Yeah, so the other direction goes towards, it goes kind of like, sorry, my 1-year-old is very overtired. And yeah, so it slopes towards my property. I mean, that's what I see on the elevation, that it slopes directly towards my property line.
Oh, so you said, I thought you said, did you say Sacheti or Cheney?
Sacheti.
Sacheti, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. We'd have to take a look at that. Rob, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I do. Can I share my screen, Ashley?
I believe so. Maybe is that feature?
No, it's not letting me. You have to let me.
Okay, here you go.
Let me try it again. There we go. Which one do I want? Okay, so let me zoom right in. So the swale extends all the way up to Unit 8. This is where it starts, right here, right at the deck on Unit 8. So this water coming off this comes from here, and then Sean, this is a little bit of a berm right here. It goes up like right about here, it's about 2 feet high, and then it phases out. And then this is 307.5, 307, 306.5, and then 306. So this berm does extend all the way to Unit 8. The water on the other side of Unit 8, like this grass area and this wooded area, this flows towards Summit Ave. But we're taking all this water from these units, this road, and we're bringing it towards High Plain Street to the drainage basin.
So Rob, then the reason for the confusion, I think at least in my part, was the landscape plan shows the swale only going up to the turnaround. So let's just check that and make that consistent.
Oh yeah, that's more just for planting. This one here, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah, that's just, I took it off just so I could show the planting. Yeah. I don't show any grading on that at all. Yeah, but I see what you're saying right there. The dash line kind of ends on this one. That was just put on a different layer, but no, the grading plan shows it going all the way up.
All right.
Yeah, the intent was from the last time when we spoke with you, and was to get that swale up behind Unit 8, that you had asked us to do that. And, and then the plantings, obviously, and try to berm it up as much as we could with a little bit of area that we had between the swale and the property line. So that's what we were trying to do there.
So Julie, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, and the good news for you is, there's not a lot of water. So you're at the top of the swale, so you're at the place where the least amount of water is. As you go down the hill, there's more and more water that gets in that swale, but you should be in pretty good shape.
So just as a side on the swale, Sean, when we met with Carl, he had asked that the swale be a stone bottom rather than just grass. So, but when we could do that, and that would provide some more infiltration, as you were saying, get rid of some of the water on the site earlier in your comments. We didn't do that because if I model it as an infiltration swale, as you know, I have to be 2 feet above groundwater. So I'm just modeling it as a grass swale to carry it down the slope. But Carl had mentioned, why don't we just put stone in there, make it a stone bottom? It's 3 or 4 feet wide. I think it's 3 feet wide. So we'd have a 3-foot stone swale all the way up, maybe with 12 inches of stone, and then it would provide some infiltration. Maybe it doesn't provide it in March and April when it's heavy rains, but it would definitely provide it on these small storms we get in the summertime. So that was a comment from Carl and I when we had a conversation.
Why don't you think about what makes sense in terms of just the other comments too? I mean, the only concerns I have with that is it's already a really small backyard, and to put a 3-foot swale and stone channel back there, it's going to erode whatever they have. And to Suzanne's point, I don't know how much we're going to get out of the soils under there, but I'm open to any suggestions. I was thinking more of like check dams or something like that would sort of hold the water back for a little bit longer. But I think we just got to look at what all the options are.
Yeah, I'm afraid of check dams in the swale because it's only about a foot and a half deep.
Yeah.
The berm. So if I check dam it and it overflows, I definitely don't want to push it to Julie's house or the Doyle's house down further. All the people on Victoria, I really don't want that swale to overflow to them. That's the last thing I wanted to do. So I'd be a little leery of the check dams. I don't have a problem adding stone and things like that, but check dams I would be a little concerned to hold water back in that swale to build it up. Just my thoughts.
Just ask a quick clarifying question. So some of the residents have indicated that there's, they're using sump pumps and they have issues in the basement under current conditions. So I'm assuming that means the groundwater is flowing from the site of the proposed development down towards Victoria Circle and intercepting their basements. So I'm just, first of all, is that correct?
In some instances, I think it is,
yeah.
But not in all. The site the contours kind of push from the high point out towards High Plain directly in a perpendicular flow. So yeah. I don't think, if you were to follow the contours on the perpendicular flow to that, but I mean, overall, what's happening out there, Bob, is the whole area is a poor soil. So you have a perched water table. So the water's not getting in the ground. So it's sitting on top of the poor soil. So 24 to 30 inches down, you have this water just sitting on top of the soil when we get into the heavy rains and the high water table season. Come summertime in August, that water disappears. You can dig a 15-foot hole out there and never hit water. So you go out there in April, that water's just sitting up there and it's not percolating into the ground. So it's called a perched water table. And these people, they can't get away from it. Their houses are all built deep in the ground. These houses that we're proposing, the cellar floors are at grade. So we're not injecting foundations into the ground, just for the same reason that they would have the same situation that those folks have. They'd all have sump pumps. You know,
I'm just wondering if encouraging more infiltration in the swale is counterproductive from that perspective, and that what we don't want is a bunch of groundwater entering, which I know the soils are not great for that, but we don't want more groundwater entering.
More groundwater, right. That's possible too, yeah. That's the other side of that coin.
And Bob, to your point too, my guess is that most of the groundwater that flows through here ends up flowing towards Spring Brook, which is generally from the site towards Victoria Circle, as opposed to the other direction.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about whether what we really want the swale to do is direct the water into the basin and into the storm sewer system, as opposed to encouraging it to infiltrate into an area where they're already having flooding issues. That's my overly simplified concern.
I think that's accurately put, though.
Would extending the proposed retaining wall along the property parallel with Doopey Street on the back side of the property, would that reassure or eliminate some sort of risk of that runoff to the people on Victoria Circle? I guess that's a question for Sean, or I don't know.
Drew, I don't know if it's a retaining wall. It's more the shape and size of the swale. So what happens is that the wider the swale bottom and the higher the sides, the more water it can carry. So I think just maybe ask Rob to tell me how, what size storm event those swales carry. The nice thing is if you have a 3-foot swale, it carries a lot of water before it would overtop. So I don't think extending the wall up would get you any real benefit from a stormwater standpoint.
Yeah, I don't think it would provide any benefit either. I mean, the real thing is that, like you said, Sean, is the 3 foot wide, and I mean, 3 foot wide, 6 inch deep swale, that's a lot of water. If that thing's flowing 6 inches deep, that's a lot of water, which I would never anticipate it to do that, not with such a small area draining to it.
Right, and the driveways and the roadways all drain to the street.
Correct. In the front half of the houses.
You said none of the water, it's a perk site, so none of the water is going to actually leach into the ground. It is going to sit on the surface, no?
Yep.
And isn't that what you just said? Or am I mixing my words here?
No, it's going to surface flow to the drainage system, correct. It's going to go, the driveways and the street will get in the catch basins, get in the drainage basin, and then anything that falls on the back of the houses and in the backyards will get into the swale, and that will also carry it to the drainage basin.
And from what I heard from Sean from the beginning, the concern might be that the breach in the swale, but if you extended a buried retaining wall along the back side of the property, that would ultimately protect any potential runoff down to the people of Victoria Circle, correct?
Not really, because it's still going to get underneath it. Drew, I'm sorry if I didn't explain myself. The breach I'm more concerned about is the one at the bottom, so closest to the Molliver's property, the one just below it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm more concerned about is we got like a 4 or 5 foot wall that's holding back 3 to 5 feet of water. That's the one I'm concerned about. The swale, as long as that swale is constructed so that it's consistently sloped, it's going to do what it's supposed to do, which is direct the water to the pond as opposed to letting it get to Victoria Circle.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next up is Siren Martin.
Here. Kieran, yeah, thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Kieran Martin from 16 Victoria Circle. Sean, I'm in there as Stephen and Louise Beresky, in between the Cheneys and the Tiles. I submitted a letter as well, Mr. Chairman, with all of my concerns, but one additional one that I just wanted to kind of get Sean's perspective on is we've seen the plans now on the second floor at the back. There are 2 windows facing out, and I know that these, Rob just alluded to it there, these are walkout basements, so this is already 2.5 stories high. And a couple of comments you made were the elevation of the street on Doopey, from High Plain up. And I'm trying to get a sense, like relative to our own back windows on the second floor, how much higher are these properties going to be? Because my calculations, it's like the back of the wall is like 30 foot from the property line. So I'm trying to get a sense of like how high and how much of a direct view into our gardens is people going to have.
Karen, I have to admit, they're definitely going to be higher than you, but it does change as you go up the hill, obviously. So that's kind of a tough question. But I can certainly, or maybe Rob can answer it because he's more familiar with the grades. But yeah, I'd have to get back to you on that one.
Sorry, I was muted. So they are walkouts. So the back of the building will be a 3-story building, basically. You'll see 3 stories.
I'm just trying to get a sense of the elevation from the floor window.
The only thing I can compare it to is my own house on Spring Street.
I probably do that, mate, but
drive by my house on Spring Street. I back up to the Spruce Pond condominiums, and I have a walkout basement. And 10 feet behind my house, I have a 3-foot high retaining wall, and then I got water for the pond. And that's probably what you're going to see. Something to that effect. Where you're going to see 3 stories. You're going to see the basement level.
Sorry, Rob. I know I have a good idea what I'm going to see. I'm more questioning what are they going to see from their back windows.
What are they going to see?
Yeah, like the elevation that they're going to see directly into. Are they going to be high enough to see into obviously my back garden? Are they going to also be my first floor windows and my second floor windows?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. I don't think I can give you a good idea on that. I mean, I'm hoping. I'm pretty sure. Other than Julia at the end of the road, I think most of you folks have some trees on the back of your lot between the property line and your house on your property. Whereas I think Julia at the end has the least amount. Your house is sit pretty far back when I drove out there and looked at it. So if there's some overstory on your property with 2 or 3 overstory trees, and then there's the plant he's going to provide at the lower level to start out. I mean, those will grow obviously, but to start out, they'll be 5 or 6 feet tall. And if you have some overstory there, I don't think you'll get that view that you're talking about.
Yeah, those are primarily pines though, so they're not.
Pines are good screening for an overstory.
Okay, I'm looking at the architectural plans, and we don't have any of the rear elevation, any of the rear views. Is that right? All I'm seeing is front elevation and the floor plans.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have those on my screen if you want me to show them to people.
Yeah, I've got them on my screen, but yeah, Rob, that would be helpful. Yep, if you can show it.
Sure.
But what we're missing is exactly what Kieran's asking about, which is
the back view.
What is the back view, and how many windows are on the back of the house? Is a proposed? We can see a proposed wood deck on the first floor. So what does that actually mean for the people behind, as far as their need for privacy? But one of the things we have talked about is a vegetated buffer, meaning trees of a specific size and height that the zoning board would put in as a condition if this were to be approved. So
Yeah, I think we show that on the plan. We put those on the landscaping, this plan here.
Yep,
We
and I
showed
think
that row.
Yep, I believe they were.
And I think the comment is that we're showing it 4 to 5 feet high, and I think the neighbor's comment is they should be higher. So maybe that's something we could look at, making them a little taller to start.
I was actually pleased with the distances, but maybe the size. But again, I think what we need to see is not just the front elevation of these units, but the rear elevation, which is going to affect the people that are living on Victoria Circle.
I think we could probably provide that.
I have a picture of the rear. Huh? I have a picture of the rear, but no elevations are on it.
No, that.
Where'd you get that? Oh, that's the old ones, Susan.
Oh, that's
it is?
Yeah, that was a duplex.
That's all I got.
Could you guys maybe generate? Could you guys just maybe generate a cross section through Doopey Street, through the proposed houses, and showing Victoria Circle, just to show the change in grade between the two of them?
I can try that, sure. But we can also get a rear elevation. I'm sure the architect could provide one quite easily.
Yeah, the section would be a nice representation of, where the landscape buffer is going to fall relative to the swale and things like that. Just makes it really easy to see that.
We could try and provide that, sure.
I don't think it has to be much, just sort of a single line with a couple representative masses.
Okay, I thought we were going to make, like I said earlier, I thought we were going to make more progress on this tonight, but clearly we still need information from the fire department on the revised plans. We need some more of the comments addressing the peer review. Ashley, what else do you think we need to be looking at for this?
Yes. Yeah,
DPW.
I think rear elevations are pretty standard to include with your architectural drawings, so that would be great. I did see that they are stamped, so thank you for that. I will coordinate a meeting with fire department so that we can work through their access questions, and then we'll work on getting a letter from Cliff on the new plans. They'll definitely also want to see those architectural plans, and I think a section showing the grade would be helpful as well. So I think that's the homework that we have on this.
Yeah. Okay.
There's two more hands raised. Yep. I'm not sure if you want to go with them.
I want to hear from the neighbors. What else they have? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ash. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm done.
Okay, I'm gonna give it over to Katie and Chip Ivy.
Hello, this is Katie Ivy on Highland Street. My husband Chip. How are you?
Hi.
Great. I just wanted to reiterate the previous concerns about the water drainage. I know I mentioned it in the past. That pathway down Summit is literally like a river when it rains, and it pushes all of the rock and debris literally to the front of our house. We're the second house in from the path. And then the way the road is pitched, it cuts across at the end of our house and goes to the other side of the street into the drain in front of the Santos's house. And it literally leaves rocks. I have many, many pictures I'm happy to share. So the digging of this development really concerns us about that flow.
Okay, Mr. Truax, do you want to comment on that? We're talking the backside.
We're talking the backside over by Summit Ave. Very familiar with Summit Ave. Been out there, understand the drainage pretty well. And that was the whole purpose of pulling the water towards this drainage basin, was to keep it off Summit Ave. So if you look at the drainage calcs, we showed that actually gets reduced going in that direction. And she's absolutely right. The water from Summit Ave comes down to that little, what looks like a walkway, but it was really built to channel the water down to the other end of Summit Ave. If you look, I don't know if you're all familiar with it. I'm going to share one more time, but there is a spot right on and Summit Ave at the end where the road stops. So it just comes to it, you know, the road ends right here. There's no turnaround or anything, but this little narrow strip right here, that's curved on both sides with a 6-inch high curb, and it's about 3 feet wide, and it looks like a walking path. But it was put there to channel the water from up above because there's no drainage up there and take it down the street. And that's what she's talking about. That washes out. A lot of water goes through there. That whole area up above comes Town Summit and drains into that little pathway. And it goes down and then gets in the drainage system further down, gets into the catch basins. Very familiar with that.
Can you fix it?
Can't fix it. The town tried to fix it. They put in the little spillway to go through from one to the other. There was nothing there before. The road just ended.
They used to have Jersey barriers in front of Betty's house. She's the last house on Summit before that little 3-foot pathway starts. And those Jersey barriers were destroyed by snowplows over the years. And of course, it all crumbled and stayed there. And all of that crumbling cement and tar, every rainstorm washes down. I literally have to call the DPW to have a street cleaner because there's so much rock debris in front of our house. Not to mention water. It's literally a river.
I've had conversations with the town engineer about it.
I have too. I'll tell you, he's going to handle it.
No, he's not going to handle it. There's not much he can do without revamping the whole area and putting in a whole new drainage system.
That's what he told me too.
Yeah, and I don't think that's in the budget this year.
I think you're right about that. We agree on something.
Okay, and if anything, some of the water that's up near, I guess, Unit 8 now, which maybe in the past would have gone towards Summit Ave and towards Highland Street, that's now going to be captured in the swale and brought to the retention basin. So it's not much of an improvement, but it's actually holding water from this site on site. It's not going to change the drainage for the rest of Summit Ave, though.
Okay. Thank you.
Jane, my laptop died, so I just signed back on, but you are the host. Could you make me back the host?
But I what?
As the granddaughter, we're in good shape. We got the granddaughter.
My laptop died on me, and I believe that it made you the host. So could you either make Ashley or I the host?
Thank you.
Preferably Ashley, because I'm on an iPhone now.
Amy, you're the host now.
Okay.
You can assign me the host if you want. I'm going to start a line. It's 1-800 dial a millennial.
Now my secret is out.
Thank you.
And it's not even 2020 anymore, folks.
Ashley, is there anybody else that wants to speak for the neighbors or abutters?
Tyler has his hand raised. I'm not sure if he wants to speak again. So I don't know, Amy. Oh, yes, he says please. So, Amy, if you could give Tyler permission to speak.
Sure.
I know he's on a phone.
I'm not. It's really strange on an iPhone. Tyler, can you speak or no?
He doesn't have permission.
All right.
Let me just quickly say, there was a question, who is Cliff? And I believe that is Cliff Bulmer that you're asking about, and Cliff is a architectural peer reviewer.
Yeah.
I honestly don't even know how to make him speak.
Can you assign me as host by clicking the 3 dots? Sorry for the delay, everyone. This is, I guess, the nature of virtual meetings.
I think if we're hosts, we can bring him in.
This is so strange. I'm gonna try. I don't know how to do this. Am I on video still? Oh my god.
Yes, you're on video. I thought everything was going to go back to normal in 2021. What's happening?
Your link. If you email me your link, I'll use that, and then I should be able to be the host with your link.
Right.
Okay, hold on.
This is actually normal for me. This is all I've ever known it to be.
And Ashley, as someone who goes to a lot of these meetings, you guys do a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah. It should have been the one I was in last night.
Okay, Ash, you should be getting the email.
Okay, I'm Amy, but am I the host? Okay, Amy, you need to leave.
Okay. but come back?
Yeah, come back, but it still says that you're the host, even though I have your name.
Okay, I'm gonna leave
Sorry.
and then come back.
Feels very meta.
Yeah. Get out.
Okay, I'm the host now. Tyler, see how much we go through to hear from you?
I appreciate it. First things first, I sell GoToMeeting, so if you guys want to get off of Zoom, just give me a shout. I'm happy to set up a contract. Second thing, though, the point that I raised earlier about the privacy vegetation, based on some comments there, and with the pines that currently exist, I think it's understood that there's not too much, or when this area gets clear cut, it's going to leave a very thin row of pines that are 100 feet, give or take, which is probably pretty dangerous given storms. So I think the understanding is that those would come down as part of this project. So that's why the I guess importance of proper privacy and vegetation here has been brought up a couple of times. So we're not going to have the pines giving privacy up above, and then the new vegetation giving privacy down below. Whatever gets put in there is really going to be the only privacy that we have. So I know I brought that up. I just wanted to add a little bit more context to that, because based on where the property lines are, I don't expect any of those pines to stay, at least safely.
We're happy to take them down if you want.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I think, Lou, I appreciate that we had met, I don't know, a while ago. my sense of time after quarantine has certainly gone out the window. So yeah, I mean, I certainly would appreciate that. And I just wanted to say, that's why there won't be any privacy existing that can help for any of the neighbors on the side.
And Tyler, that's one of the things that the zoning board can do, is put in a requirement that the applicant has a vegetated buffer. They've already identified the spacing of the trees, the type of tree, even the fast-growing trees. I know it's not perfect in the short term, but over time, it does work to provide some sort of buffer.
Yep. Thank you.
Hey. Ashley, anybody else that wants to talk?
Hey, John, sorry, this is Kieran Martin here again. So I just want to clarify one thing, just based on what Tyler said there, is the rear of our properties is slightly different in terms of like how they were cleared by the old proprietors. So that decision around like whether Lou would cut down any trees is would be owner by owner, right? Because
yes, absolutely. And the zoning board, this project is about the property under control of Mr. Petrosi, not about your property.
Okay.
In this sense, unless you can come to an agreement that you wanted him to, you know, make some trees or do something. But no, we cannot and would not make any conditions that go off of his property.
Mr. Chairman, may I say that we would be happy to meet with each of the homeowners prior to any work to determine who wanted trees removed, and quite honestly, we'd be happy to plant the evergreens on their own property if that's what they would prefer, as the screening took place.
Yeah, the zoning board probably wouldn't be okay with that because we can't control you planting on somebody else's property. It'd be nice. Maybe you can plant 2 sets of trees, but there'll definitely be one on your property. Okay. Anybody else? And then I'm going to ask Judy Barrett and George what their guidance is. Ashley, do you have anything for us before I ask Judy and George?
Nope, I don't. Thank you. And I don't see any hands raised, so I think we're all good.
Judy, any guidance for us at this point?
Sorry. I think the only thing I'm still concerned about is it seems like there's some confusion or maybe something missing in the record about comments from the fire chief. Am I correct about that? Ashley, do we need updated comments from the fire chief?
We do, and so I already sent an email out trying to coordinate a meeting for next week.
Okay, I mean, I think that's kind of key. That's a fundamental public safety question, so we do need to get a handle on that.
Yeah, we did have previous comments, but that was on the old plan, the original plan, and now we need to have it on the revised plan.
I understand completely. Right. We want to make sure you've got that covered.
Okay. Thank you, Judy. And we are on that. Anything else, Judy?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, good. George, any guidance for the zoning board?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. George Pucci from Town Council's office. No, the only thing I would add, that was on my checklist of action items between now and the next public hearing session, was the updated report from the fire department. There were some other action items that were talked about at the beginning of the hearing about, what you wanted, the information that you still need, and further discussions. And I think Sean talked about a conference call with one of the applicant's representatives and Ashley. I would just make sure that, we are clear that we set forth the action items that we want to have addressed before the next public hearing session. And then there's pretty much nothing else to do except select a new date and time certain to continue the public hearing to. But it's always good, as you've been doing, to specify what you expect to have covered by the time of the next hearing. Be as productive as possible.
And when you want it by. So we don't have another situation here of something coming in pretty late and no one's had a chance to look at it. You're on mute, John.
That's a good point. So action items, Ashley, I know you have a running list, but let's make sure that we have covered for items. Fire department comments. Also, from peer review, Sean, you talked about meeting up with Rob on some of those drainage issues, just because I've seen your letter, and there's still a number of issues that you have concerns about. We also need architectural plans that show not just the front elevation of the buildings, but definitely the back, and preferably all 4 sides. But definitely the back, which will be looking out at the neighbors. What else?
You wanted a section and showing the grade.
Yeah. And I wanted DPW comments on the snow plowing, please.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I have that list. I'd suggest, depending.
And Cliff.
Yes, I got Cliff. So I have my punch list here. I think that maybe a month out or so is enough time. I think we need to be able to give the departments at least 2 weeks to be able to review all of these materials. So maybe the last week of February, depending on, it sounds like you already have a lot of what they asked for, so I don't think it'll take you too long. And you said it would be pretty easy for the architect to do up the rear elevation. So I might suggest we continue to the last week of February, which should give us plenty of time to meet and get all the materials into the departments in time.
Yeah. Actually, and everybody, what I'd like is to have a date when all this material is submitted to the zoning board so that we have time to review it, and the neighbors and everybody has time to review the information. And then whatever that date is, so we're going to pick a date when all this stuff has to be in, and then
the hearing date.
Then a hearing date, 10 days to 2 weeks later.
Right. So I think if we can get everything in by February 3rd, that's 3 weeks from now. Blue, does that sound reasonable?
I think so. I mean, Rob, does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
That would be 2 weeks before the meeting, right? Thereabouts.
So if we aimed for February 3rd and then met like February 24th, I'm not sure when school week vacations are and this kind of.
So we're not going to have a zoning board meeting on the 17th, so the 24th works.
Okay.
I think the school vacation is the 15th.
Yeah, it's usually the
President's Day. But I try to be aware of it.
Right. What I mean, the Wednesday is the 17th. So you're right. The school vacation week is Monday the 15th, but we'd be meeting on a Wednesday night. So the 24th is that would be good if we could continue this until actually the 25th, as we always do, and then schedule the meeting for the 24th. Is that okay with board members? Will you be here?
We don't. I don't think we're in a place where we need a time extension on this just yet.
Okay.
So 24, we're still within our, George, is that correct, under the 180 days from December 1?
I'm sorry, Ashley, I just haven't calculated it.
I know, and you know what, I don't have those notes with me. I'm embarrassed, it's like I should know.
Well, we might have just prior to me saying this. So from December 1st, our 180 days is in May.
Thank you.
So if that's the correct date to use based on the legislation.
Yes. Oh, if that's what you're asking, yes, I correct. I thought you were asking me for when this started or whatever, and I just didn't have that in front of me. But yes, that would be correct.
Okay, then everybody we're clear on what are the do-outs for the next meeting.
Yep.
The next meeting will be all the information needs to be in by February 3rd. We agree to that?
Yes.
Amy, make sure that's in the minutes, please. And then the hearing will be on Wednesday, February 24th at 7 p.m. by Zoom. Okay.
That's agreeable.
Okay. So, could I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Moved by Suzanne. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jane. Any further discussion on the continuing of this hearing? Okay. It has to be a roll call vote. Suzanne Murphy.
Murphy, aye.
Bob Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Jane Coffey.
Aye.
Drew Delaney.
Aye.
Dave Anderson.
Aye.
And I'm John Lee. Aye. Okay. So we're continued out until the 24th, and we'll have all that other information come in. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Chairman, one question.
Yes.
Ashley, will you be coordinating with the Tetra Tech and LM to Zoom meetings to have conference, or how do you want to handle that?
Yep, we can do a Zoom. So I sent an email out to you, and I included Bill Scully on it to Fire and Sean. So
Okay.
we'll get a date coordinated, and then I can send out a Zoom.
For Rob and Sean too at some subsequent meeting.
Yes. Sorry, Rob. I'll add you to the.
I mean, I'm comfortable just having a phone call with Sean on any questions I have, if you guys are comfortable with that.
Yep, we can sort it out.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with phone call.
Great.
Okay, that's good. Okay, we have some minutes. George, Judy.
Thank you, everyone.
Rosie, Mr.
Thank
Truax.
you.
Nice, thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, we have some minutes to take a look at. If you've had a chance to review them. So I want to go through these one by one because there's a few that I think we need to just have a few things added. So on the November 9th, that was the first one, November 9th, 2020, I was okay with that. Does anybody have any comments on that one?
No, that looked good to me.
Okay. Next one was 11/18/2020. I've got a couple comments. Amy, this is on the Burns Ave project. It should say major change because that's how it's classified.
Substantial is the key word. Yeah.
Substantial change. And also, Drew Delaney had a comment that in that where he talks about site control, and the reason Drew brought it up was because there's still issues that are unclear on Burns Ave on the site control, and I think we need to have that. That's what Drew brought up, and it's not just site control; it's unclear issues on Burns Ave, so that's in the minutes. The other, okay, so does anybody have anything else on the 18th that they wanted changed?
I know I brought up stuff about Tetra Tech that I don't see in the minutes either.
Okay.
I brought up that he was arguing that he wanted to use Beta, and I said, Tetra Tech, it's a different project. It's got a whole road that goes on to Union, and none of that is in there. I just think we need to do any Burns Ave or any 40B needs to be word by word.
So what?
Suzanne, I think, Suzanne, you and I talked about this a while ago, but that's in the meetings of the November 30th.
Okay.
I think that's the one. And
It's
I've got
different.
that
Okay.
down here. Yeah, so I think you're a meeting ahead of
Not
yourself.
in this one.
Okay.
Okay.
So Amy should be able to copy and paste that memo that I provided just straight into the minutes, if that would be helpful, where I read the whole.
Yeah, that was later. That's
okay. Sorry.
But so unless somebody has anything for the November 18th, those are just the two two things. It was a significant change.
Substantial.
Substantial, sorry, yes. However it's classified by Mass Housing,
Right.
and then Drew's comments, it just needs clarification. Site control on Burns Ave is still questionable. Okay. Anybody have anything else on that?
No.
So let me. So yeah, did we already vote on the 11-9?
We can do them all at the end.
Okay.
If you want.
Okay. This next one was 11/30/20, and Suzanne, I think you had some comment just now, but I actually was okay with that because I think to me it was pretty clear that we were asking. In fact, we were asking for the peer review to be done by Tetra Tech. But if you want something else in there, I'm fine with that too.
No, I was just trying to point out that this was a different project with a new road. And he was trying to say it's practically the same project. The other thing I had a question on that I did forget to mention when we opened up the Burns Ave, I stated out loud that we had a new member and that he should start at the beginning of the project, and he refused. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
I do remember that, but
and I don't care if it's in that or not. I mean, it just happened.
I do, but I'm not sure. Did he?
He said no. I'm not doing it. It's not that big a change. And he got mad. And I just felt, Dave should be listening to the whole shebang, not just the new little road on Union. And never mind that the buildings all change size. I mean, there's a lot of other changes, and he did not want to address them.
Well, between him not wanting to address them and us allowing him not to address them are two different things, because I think what we're doing is,
making him address them.
Right.
No, I'm just pointing out that we have to be very careful, that's all.
Okay.
John, I want to go back, if you will, to the comments that Suzanne was making. Down near the bottom of the page, Murphy and Coffey stated they were in favor of accepting the peer review scope from Tetra Tech. I think what Suzanne was getting at, as we did, I don't know if it was she did it or I did it, but one of the two of us said, and I think it's important to get it in there, because if this ends up in court, the better documented would be a good thing. The idea that we both were in favor of it is we wanted to drive home the fact that this was in fact a new project, and we felt that it required a new peer review. And Lou wanted it to be the same, and when we were trying to make the point that this was not an old project that was just going to be quote unquote revised. So that the idea of going back to beta on this, we objected to, because we felt that would merely be a revision of what Beta's comments had been earlier, and they hadn't been necessarily complete, if you recall. So I do think it's important to get them in there, because it speaks a little bit more definitively as to why we felt that Tetra Tech was more appropriate for this than to go back to beta. That's all. I think that's what Suzanne was getting.
Okay.
I think your term, Jane, you used were, we need fresh eyes.
That's right.
If I remember, you said that, right? Just remembered it. Yeah.
Okay, that we need fresh eyes, that this is a new project.
Yeah.
And requires fresh eyes and a new peer reviewer. It is not merely a revision of the old plan, and having beta would mean perhaps just a review of the peer review, if you will. New eyes, fresh eyes, that's correct.
Amy, are you getting this? Do you understand what they're getting at?
Yeah, understood.
Okay. And so
Thanks.
that's for November 30th. Then we're on to, anybody else have anything else for November 30th minutes? The next one was December 2nd, and Amy, it's just a mistake at the top. When you copied it over, the date didn't change. If you look at the minutes, it still has the date from, I think, November 30th. So that's the only thing I saw on that. Do you see what I'm talking about?
I mean, I don't have it in front of me at the moment because my laptop died, but I can go back.
Okay. So for December 2nd, it's just the date change at the top. Okay. Anybody else have anything on the minutes for December 2nd?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one was 12/16. That was when we had a meeting but didn't have a meeting, and all the cases were continued. That was and I'm okay with that. It's actually well worded to basically put everything.
You approved those already?
Okay, those were already approved. Okay, that was an easy one. And then the next one is 12/21, and the only thing I wanted added in there was a comment that I made on the 300 Stone Street. This was the building in the floodplain. And Amy, what I wanted was the square miles of drainage from Moose Hill and Sharon down to that site. There's many miles of, the square miles of drainage from Moose Hill in Sharon right down to that location. Just
Sure.
in case something comes back in the future. Did anybody have anything else for the 21st? Was also the meeting with KW Steel, which had a lot of information. And Amy, I think you did a good job. I think you did a great job identifying.
That was Ashley did those, so I can't take credit for the KW Steel minutes.
Wow, those.
George asked for them, so.
Yeah. Did you?
So she did them better because George wanted them.
Well, just given the weight of what the
Yes. So, just out of curiosity, did you go back and rewatch the whole meeting and get the minutes from the?
Yeah.
Watching. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, not to brag, but I can do like 98 words a minute. So.
Wow. Well, that was because when I read it, I was like, wow, this is really detailed. But now I understand why. Okay. Anything else on those minutes? Okay. With those revisions, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of 11/9/20, 11/18/20, 11/30/20, 12/2/20, and 12/21/20?
So moved.
Moved by Suzanne.
Second by Jane.
Second by Jane. Any further discussion on this? Bob, you okay with all these minutes?
Yeah, everything looks good.
Are we going to vote on each one? Because I'm abstaining from two.
Okay.
Just to be a pain in the ass.
You know what, Suzanne? You're going to abstain from all of them, I think, tonight.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. It's easier that way.
You did say we could vote on them all at the end, Suzanne.
I know, that's fine.
Can she move the motion though? I don't know. What were the rules around that?
Oh, yeah. Make the motion for me, Bob. I retract my motion.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion made. Thank you, Bob. Motion made by Bob. Could I have a second on that?
Second by Jane.
Second by Jane. Good. And so all those in favor of accepting the minutes with the revisions that we outlined. Suzanne Murphy.
Murphy abstain.
Hey, Bob.
Aye.
Jane.
Aye.
Drew Delaney.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
And I'm John Lee. Aye. Okay. Good. Amy, look forward to seeing those posted on the website. So thank you. Thank you, Amy and Ashley, for all your work on getting those
I have a little request, if you would indulge me.
Sure.
So we're trying to get the 2020 town report done, and we want to include a Zoom screenshot. And we were trying to pull one from the YouTube video, and it's impossible to get one of everyone looking at the same place. So I want to get one where people aren't looking goofy and doing all kinds of crazy things. So if you could, I think the best way to do it, so I'm going to stop my video, and then if everyone could just like, look, act as if you're taking a picture for like 3 seconds, then we'll go and pull a screenshot. Okay.
Do you want us to should we all smile?
Yeah. So if everyone could smile.
Pretend you're not at a hearing.
Just like, and be still. So let's see.
Ashley, hold on. Ashley and Amy.
Yes.
You should be in this also.
Oh no, thank you. I can't do it.
Okay. I think that we're all one big team here. So, but if you don't want to be in it, this is America.
Amy, we could Photoshop a different picture of you in later. Okay, so Amy, will you count to 3 for us all to look at our cameras?
Sure. 1, 2, 3. Say cheese.
Cheese. Okay. So thank you all for doing that. It's just such a kind of historic year that I think it should be, documented in the 2020 town report. So thank you for indulging me on that. That's all.
No, that's great. And actually, before that goes in, would you make sure I want to review it before it goes into the town report?
Sure. I'll send you all three, and you could let me know which one your favorite.
No, I'm not talking about the picture. I'm talking about.
Oh, the report. The report. Oh, yeah, sure.
And she was like, "Wow, John, you're very vain."
No, just it's for about 18 years. I wrote the annual thing for the town report for Sharon when I was on the zoning board over there. So I appreciate the fact that you're doing it and I'm not doing it. But yeah, there's certain things that we want to capture, and it does matter. It is the town report, as we all know, is a historical document that people look at in the future. It's pretty cool. Okay. Does anybody have anything else?
Just quickly, because Monday is a holiday, do you guys want to schedule a site visit for me to post online for School Street? Because that needs to happen by like tomorrow.
Yep.
If you.
So, do board members want to have a site visit, or one of the things we said way back was, or at least I believe that if we go there as a zoning board, the public should be able to come. I'm not comfortable going in there without having it as a public meeting. I'll just say that.
I agree with that, but I also believe that we may not see the actual doings of the property as a notified meeting. I guess is my only concern.
And I think
I took a ride over, it was several weeks ago, and I got a good look at what's behind there. So I think I'm pretty well.
I think we may also have some issues with having more than 10 people assembled and that sort of thing. I don't know what the guidelines are now, but I think the COVID-related guidelines about if we open it up to lots of people, I think we could run afoul of that, which we probably don't want to do. So I don't know if a subset of us want to go, maybe, but once we open it to the public, which I think is a good idea, John, I don't know how we can control the numbers after that. So I don't know what the limit is. I think it's 10 people maybe, but anyway.
Good point.
That is a good point.
Yeah. So the other choice would be to just have two board members, if they wanted to go. Suzanne, you're not on this. Jane, you said you've already been to the site and
yes,
what you want. I personally would like to see it. I'm not super comfortable walking in there with the business owners without the public with us.
Understood.
One option might be, I don't know if Walpole Media can cover it. I know that I heard some towns doing that because people were needing to conduct site visits, so they were having this like video recording and posting the video recording of their meeting. So if that sounds interesting, we could look into that for you.
We just drove in behind and turned around and came out.
I actually want to see.
I'd be happy to go with you, John, too. Yeah.
I think that if we do it with two people, that's not a violation of the open meeting law. Mm-hmm. And Ashley, you're shaking your head. Is that?
No, I'm agreeing with you. It's not. Sorry, it's not a violation.
So maybe Amy, can you set something up where, unless Bob, Drew and Drew want to go also, we could do two separate meetings.
No, I'm fine with you both going if you're comfortable with it. But if you'd like me to, I'm happy to go too. It's how's that for being wishy-washy?
Yeah.
Perfect answer.
Is that a definite maybe? I just heard.
You can always post it and you can cancel it.
Right.
But okay, post as what, a public hearing?
As a site visit.
As a site visit.
But we can indicate also that we're not taking any testimony from no input from either the
okay, let's
the business or the public.
You could even make a statement, due to COVID, we wouldn't be, and leave it at.
Okay. So let's do that. Amy, can you set up a meeting? I've already said most days after after 2:30, I'm okay. And if, you know, see what the business says as far as what time works for them, and we can go in there. I think really what I want to see is, are we talking, you know, are we talking heavy equipment that's making a lot of noise and is, you know, an issue for the neighborhood, or and I also expect that it will be quiet when we're there, but I want to see the equipment.
Well, that's also an interesting point, is if the cease and desist order is still in effect, there won't be any activity on the site, presumably, unless.
That's when I went. It was cease and desist. That's when we went.
Okay. So I don't know, they might be able to point out various things, but I don't know if anything is actually going to be operating until that order is lifted.
Right, and I don't need to see the equipment operating, but I think I can see the type of equipment and get an idea of what type of, is it, really what it's coming down to is what type of manufacturing is taking place.
Yeah. We just want to see the setup in there, right? Like what's the setup in there? What's actually in there?
Yep, you're right.
I think the other concern though is I understand the issue of limited manufacturing, and it may well be that what's going on there is that. However, I do think we have to take a look at, in terms of safety, some of these trucks that are going in and out of there, because when you go there, you will see.
You know what, Jane, I'm not going to agree or disagree because it's not on our agenda to discuss that tonight. But I think that, Amy, if you would set up a meeting where, you know, the board members, whoever wants from the board, yourself included, Amy, if you'd like to go too, we can go and see what's going on at KW Steel.
Okay, so with the posting deadlines and Monday as a holiday, it will either, I'll email them, but it'll either be Tuesday or Wednesday after 2:30.
Okay. And
I'll finalize it and let all of you know and post it, but those are the.
Yeah. And when's the hearing for that?
Wednesday. 20th. Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, what a mess. Okay, so very good. Anything else for the board? So could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Suzanne.
Second by the other Bob.
Hey, hey, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, Ashley, good seeing you. How much longer are you with us, Ashley?
To be determined. I'm
Good.
trying to stick through with the project, the 40Bs, so I'm not gonna.
We appreciate it.
Don't want to leave anyone in the lurch, so.
We do appreciate it, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not disappearing just yet.
Okay, I hope life is good out your way. Okay, very good. Amy, we all set?
Hey, yeah, you're good with me.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks everybody. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.